can make better decisions if we're present. But if we're not, we do the best we can. And if we're doing the best we can. So I need you to change your way of thinking about her being your enemy. And look at how you've been an enemy to what you promised.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you don't communicate, you leave a lot to the imagination. And everybody's imagination is not used for good. Some men and some women have not come into a relationship to where there is a bar that's set. And so in that, they're like, you know what? Well, I kind of like that challenge. You know, I've been trying to work on myself, but I haven't necessarily known how to do it. She's kind of given me an idea, or he's kind of given me an idea, verbalized, but I haven't been able to express. I kind of like that. I want that. I want that for myself. That vision she has is really what I want for myself. I can see that point of view. Then I can also see the point of view to where she's like, I don't want to sit here and have to teach you. I don't want to sit here and have to do this. I don't want to sit here and do that. I want you to come correct. I want you to come already. But at the same time, if that's what you want and you're not able to make any compromises, then you might miss the opportunity of a man who's willing to grow or a woman that's willing to grow, right? They might not have been in just the right environment. Sometimes it just takes that right spark.
I ain't acting, I'm just speaking what I see behind the lens. Even though I'm speaking roles, the creator I am.
Manifest, elevate, you will be okay. I'ma focus on myself either way. Give you love, give you eyes, show you the way. I plant the seeds and watch them blossom. Our soul is power, solar power. We don't fold, we don't know no cowards. We expose those who hide our power. Self-conquer, watch the rest devour.
Peace, love, prosperity, family. It's your host, King Enlighten of the Move Different Podcast. And today I bring to you a very special guest, Emunah. Emunah, thank you for joining the show today.
Thank you for having me.
No
Peace,
problem.
King.
Peace.
Peace, man.
So, Emunah is a very special person for very many special reasons. But instead of me telling you about her, Emunah, can you please share with my viewers what it is that you do and where you're from?
Okay, all right. Well, right now I am currently here in Kansas City, but I like to say that I am a global citizen, a world traveler. I am a certified conversational hypnotherapist. I am a tantric, teacher and healer, light worker. I just love people and really helping people have a blissful, delicious relationship.
I love that. Ooh, I love that. So as you all know here on the More Different Podcast, we talk about moving different with your mindset, your goal, like how you're thinking different about things, your goals, your money, and your relationships. Which I would love to start off talking about identifying mental health traits when it comes to relationships. So to open it up, when I was in the dating market, right now I'm currently dating my business and dating myself.
Okay.
When I was in the dating market, I feel a lot of people go with this, let's go with the flow, instead of being intentional and being open about and clear on what it is they want. They bounce around relationship to relationship, they don't like being alone. So it's kind of like shows you that they need to do some self-work. But in the process of that, some of us come across what we call damaged people. And other ways of being damaged, people cause damage to others. Like they can be narcissists, they can be Debbie Downers, misery loves company, they can be over controllers,
Sociopath, psychopath.
You see what I'm going?
Absolutely.
So with the industry that you're in, the service you provide, and just your awareness, and if I know correctly, you have the trait of an empath, right? Or you are an empath, right?
I am. I am. I
So-
feel a lot. Yes.
And most people, they're unaware of other people's feelings. They can't sense it. So if there is a way to identify a mental health trait while on a date with somebody, what are some red flags and some signs a person should pay attention to?
First thing I think about is eye contact. Second thing I think about is just how present are they? Do they seem comfortable? Do they seem nervous? What are they giving off? Are you able to relax in their presence? Are you able to be your authentic self in their presence? That probably speaks more volumes than what you're looking at them. How are you feeling? I think we just need to look about when it comes down to it. Since this person you're kind of just meeting, you don't know, you don't really want to assume. I know we're quick to assume, but maybe let's say, how are you feeling in that moment? How are you feeling in their presence? And then then you go from there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I like that. So if a person was currently in a relationship right now, and I asked you this off camera, they are not feeling like they're happy with their finances. They say they're happy with their relationship, but they don't quite feel whole. What would you recommend them start searching or seeking or looking into? What would you recommend that person?
Automatically ask themselves, what is it they're feeling? I need them to be present with themselves for just a moment. So be present with yourself. If you have all the money, you know you can trust the partner, then the issue really is you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is it that you're feeling? What is it that you've not been honest with yourself about? What is it that you need to maybe just get quiet, maybe just, right? Just.
I like that. That's
Just.
balance.
Yeah. And then go from there. Just be honest with that.
Okay. And has there ever been a point in your life where you felt like you made, I don't want to say wrong decision, but there was a lesson learned when it comes to mental health? Have you ever dealt with somebody you realize later down the road, like, you know what, that person had some mental health issues I wish I would have known about?
I would just talk about just my own parents. You
Okay.
know, let's just start there. Those are your greatest teachers, you know, and those are also reflections of yourself, because those are where you get your first imprinting. That's where you get your how to go out into the world, your first lessons of self-esteem and all those types of things. Yes, I would say looking at your own start, right? Your own start. What did that look like? What did that feel like? People have seen enough movies, even if they don't have even if they live in a house and they've not been out, somehow they have at least heard the vibration of what's been going on around them, arguing, whatever it is, and they've gotten imprint, they've gotten ways of handling things, they've gotten trauma, they've gotten just downloads regardless, right, of what it feels like, sounds like, looks like. Even without outside influence, without a movie, without anything. So from that, you're going to learn a behavior. It's going to be embedded in you in a way.
I agree. Embedded. So what about that? By saying embedded, that takes me to the concept of conscious mind and unconscious. You know, rational thinking versus unrational. So how can a person discover what's really embedded in them? How can they identify cycles and traits if they're not close to their parents or they never knew their parents?
Okay. So if they've never known their parents, or, you know, obviously they've got some type of outside influence, they're comparing something to something, right? So they're comparing, even if it's they've watched all these movies, they're comparing something in them to something else. So in that, I guess, and this is how I'm saying, of course, nobody's a cookie cutter. Nobody's all the same. So many, you know, different scenarios, different cultural upbringings, so many factors, right? So in that, they would have to get honest about what it is they're wanting. You got to create what I want my world to look like, no matter what it's around them, right? Because if you don't like the environment you're in, then you're trying to create one, right? People talk about always escaping or creating alter egos if they've been in traumatic situations, right? There's a way that you cope. There's a way that you try to figure something out when even you don't have the words to express or articulate, you still know, it's not for me. I want to create something in my imagination that's going to be like this. A lot of times, it's exactly how that kind of happens.
I agree. I agree. So when it comes to it brings my next topic, co-parenting. Since we talking about you use your parents as the first example, co-parenting. I feel a lot of us get into the market where we just want to go with the flow of things. Like, oh, I like him, I like her, she's cute, I like the vibe, they make me laugh. Hey, why not? And they want to figure someone out and discover them on a journey. I believe you can be intentional, be clear first, let people know what you want, what you're looking for, and find out if you even want to begin a journey. Because if you don't, that's a journey that ain't no turning around because time doesn't turn around. Time doesn't stop. So I feel it's important for a person to be intentional. And I feel because we're not intentional in the beginning, that leads to so many broken homes. People having sex and what they call having babies by mistake. Me, fortunately, I had my daughter, I had only one child. She was intentional. I talked about it. We co-created. Today, unfortunately, we're not together, but me and her mom, my daughter's mom, are great co-parents. I'm not on child support. We work things out. We talk. We just were able to be mature enough to identify what we didn't like or why it possibly couldn't work. And that all happened at the age of 21. I'm now in my 30s. So that was a great thing for at a young age to be able to do. A lot of people don't. But I want to get your take on it. When it comes to co-parenting, what do you feel makes and break co-parenting?
I think you really said it. I think you said intentional, being intentional. Also, you may have been young, but you were conscious. A lot of people are not conscious in their relationships. They're not conscious in the things they're doing. Like you said, they're going with the flow. And going with the flow, they want to experiment or they want to double dip or, they're... Okay, so some people haven't been taught, right, what's healthy. So, and you're not being taught what's healthy, you kind of just do what you feel or you do what you think you know what's best. And in that, if you don't have the skills, you're going to just go with the flow or you're going to create some type of trauma because you're going to bump your head along the way. And it doesn't take but one move, one something, just something to just change your whole forever, right? Nice. Your whole life. And that can be okay too at the end. But you still have to be honest about it. It's like, okay, I really didn't know what I was doing. You hear a lot of people saying that, I was so silly when I was younger. I didn't think about nothing. I was just carefree. I was just living my best life. And in living your best life, you bumped your head, you did a whole lot of stuff. And although you kind of look back at it like, oh, I was so free in that, you still feel like you have a lot of regret, right? Mm-hmm. It might have been fun times, but you still know in those fun times, you could have been so much more intentional. You could have had so much more, created your world a whole lot different or more focused, mm-hmm. right? No, you might not have, you love your baby or you love the scar you have on your face from, whatever happened. It could be just so many different ways that it's like it can be a great source of strength for you now. But at the same time, if you could do it again, you would tweak it. And I think a lot of that comes from being aware, being conscious. And a lot of times we're not. We're not even conscious of our breathing. We just breathe so much from our chest. We don't even do from our diaphragm. So you have so many older people now dying from diseases because their lower, their diaphragm is in atrophy because they don't use it. So that's just an example of just sometimes we don't breathe. We're not present in the moment. And in that, that air, literally that air, that breath stimuli in our brain. Things start off, we can make better decisions if we're present. But if we're not, we do the best we can. And doing the best we can.
I like that. We can do a lot when we're present, but when we're not, we're going to do the best that we can. Mm-hmm. That's a very powerful concept. You know what? I like how this is formed. That brings me into another topic. But before we get into this topic, the viewers don't know, are you a mother?
I am.
And are you with the children or child's father? And if not, how does that co-parenting look?
I'm not. I am. I have two boys. I'm so delighted to have them. As far as being with their fathers, I am not. And I am just beginning to co-parent with my eldest son and my baby, because I had them 10 years apart. I wanted them both to have their own childhood. That was my great decision for me. I don't have any interaction, and that's not by my choice.
Okay.
It's not by my choice. But I'm just now with my eldest son, just now beginning to have maybe a co-parent, and right now we're both in a position to where we are now having to guide, our eldest. He's not really in a place where we can be in that place where we kind of, tell him what to do. Now we're having to trust. I'm having to trust the seeds I place in him that they're going to avail much. Right now I'm in a place of not disciplining, but now guiding and being, just there to support. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen, but at the same time, I don't know, but I'm open to being that because one, I'm whole. I'm not looking for my son's father to kind of fill some void or kind of fill something. So I'm coming already whole. And so no matter what happens, I'm going to be all right.
Definitely. When you say whole, coming from a place of being whole, I can say some of my friends, they, the mothers of their children, do come from a place of void. Like, I feel like I need this, I need that, I need that. And most of the time, they don't have anything to do with the kids. It's them not being able to still be with the other parent. So some men don't want to show up for their kids, they're not with the woman still. Some ladies don't want the father to see the kid because they're not sending no money. It's a lot of
That's
like,
true.
it's a lot of toxic stuff going on, which brings me to my next topic: toxic femininity and toxic masculinity.
Okay, I do want to talk about that because that's so important, and I'm glad that you talked about females also being in the category of being toxic, because it's not just a toxic masculinity, it's both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Toxic is toxic, right?
Right.
It's going to cause trauma, it's going to cause something that you're not going to be able to grow from. That's toxic. It's something that's not going to help you in life. I will say this from me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have all the information, right? I'm going to give an example of my eldest son. I didn't have all the information about why he wasn't present in my son's life. I felt from the information that I had, right, which was his mother, which was, just family, my mother, people talking and not including us in it, created a whole lot of situations to where there was miscommunication. He and I weren't communicating. And I really honestly don't even know how that happened. I don't even know how it happened that we stopped talking, because it wasn't ever a place to where I couldn't have a conversation with him. It wasn't that it ended badly. He was an adult. He decided to make a decision to move on in a different way. And I decided to take his lead, not try to hang on, not try to do this, but say, he's made an adult decision. He's able to maybe see something I can't see. And for me to be able to kind of sit with that and say, okay, all right, well, now I'm gonna rock this way. And in that rocking, I still don't understand how we missed the mark, but we did. And now here it is, years have gone by. Now we're having to now learn how to be co-parents. He's married, I'm divorced. And all I can say is that we have to, it's just about being honest. Being honest about, first of all, again, I say I'm whole. I'm not bitter about the situation. I'm grateful for the situation. But at the same time, I can't control somebody else's decision. So a lot of women, I will say this, I have a client, and his major grievance is that, well, she won't let me see our twins. And I said, well, what do you mean she won't let you see your twins? Have you all made an agreement? Has she broken any of your agreements? Has she gone against the things that you've laid out? Because he told me that they had, when it was ending, they laid out some agreements. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, have you made all your agreements? I mean, have either of you all not done it? And he said, well, I haven't been, paying child support. And I haven't been paying child support, and I haven't communicated that with her. But she won't let me see the kids. And I said, okay, So that's not right that you're not seeing the kids, but at the same time, you haven't been verbal about not paying child support. So both of you all are not being honest, right?
Mhm.
So I need you to change your way of thinking about her being your enemy and look at how you've been an enemy to what you promised.
Ooh, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
How you've been an enemy to what you promised. So in that, she's had to make a decision now because you haven't really communicated. Now she's got to make a decision on how she rocks. So for you, it looks like she's just being bitter. She's just being this. But to her, she's being honest and honest about the fact that you haven't kept your word. And if you're not keeping your word, then what are you keeping?
Mhm.
So how is she supposed to now just, constantly be available or make her son available if she feels like you can't be honest about this one thing? Communication is everything, right?
Definitely is.
So if you don't communicate, you leave a lot to the imagination. And everybody's imagination is not used for good.
Woo, I think people say that again. People say that one more time. People's imagination.
Everybody's imagination is not used for good. And then, of course, good is according to how you see it. But I'm just saying, to her, it's like, I'm not making myself available. I've got things to do. I now have to go. What if I have to get a second job? I don't have time to sit here and try to figure out, where you're going to be or when you're going to do it and what you got. I got to make moves.
Mhm.
And that's her thought. It's not necessarily she's trying to be spiteful, but she's got to do what she's got to do. And I wish a lot of men would kind of see it that way instead of seeing it based on ego. She's keeping me from my kids. I ain't doing this and that. If you're not doing what you're not supposed to do, she's got to pick up the slack. And in picking up the slack doesn't mean she's got the same time variable for you to come and do what you need to do when you want to do it.
That's heavy.
And if you're the main provider for your child, and you are a man, and you're taking care of your child, and she's not keeping her word on based on what you plan, then it's the same thing. That's why I say toxicity. It's toxic and creates trauma.
Mm-hmm. Dang, you were that good. Why you just take away my questions like that? I'm probably I've been waiting for I got in the second anyway, but you just did your thing on that. Yeah, but the reason I wanted to talk about that so much because online, I think I remember. Didn't I show you that? I showed you that Facebook post of that one lady. She had posted online and said, "I'm done giving my heart to these niggas. They'll step on it and crush it.
Yeah.
I'll never again."
Right.
So because of people, that goes back to the mental health, identifying the traits. Because people dealt with somebody and didn't know if they was really feeling them that way, if they wanted to go long term, they didn't have that communication ahead.
Right.
They weren't intentional.
Yeah.
Now you take this one situation, or it could have been other situations, but this probably was your second or your third final straw where you feel like men are this. Yeah. And you corrected me when I was like, man, most women. You was like, no, you mean toxic women. I was like, yeah, toxic women. She was like, but you told me it's not just male or female thing. Toxicity is toxicity, period.
Right.
So when I read that lady post online, I seen now because of her hurt, she is now eliminating her nature to be peaceful and loving and caring because of this person's incapability to communicate and be intentional and not play with her feelings. So now what I see is a woman that is now starting a journey of toxicity. So with a person like that, I feel, it's not about her. It's an online thing. Online, there's a lot of toxic conversations going on. And they say America loves violence, sex, money, and drugs. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to money, sex, drugs, and toxicity, what are some remedies, some rituals, some practices? What is something people can do to cleanse themselves from the negative things that's going on currently in the world and in their life?
That is deep, brother. Deep, King. Okay, so let's go back to what you said about the young woman who says she is no longer giving out her heart. I feel like that's a cop-out. Okay, and to me, it's like, and she's not completely whole when she stepped into that situation, right? Because if you're completely whole, it doesn't matter how that person rocks. You're not letting down your self-worth. And in letting down your self-worth means that you're going to have to guard your heart. You should be brave in love, right? You shouldn't be brave in love if that's what you choose to do. Now be honest, right? Be honest about what you want. Now, if you don't really want to be, just want somebody to lay down with, you just want something to just kind of just pass the time until you can do better, be honest about that. But if you really want to be in love, then be honest about it. And if that person, and you've spoken it out of your mouth. Now, nobody should have to read other people's minds.
Period.
Right? We'll talk about how psilocybin, can help with that, read people's minds. But let's bring it back. The average person should not have to read your mind.
Okay.
So if you begin to speak and say, I'm feeling you, or whatever your heart speaks, whatever your heart song is, whatever your language is, speak it. And then be able to receive what that person's truth is. Don't lie about it. Don't try to create an alter ego to fit so that they can give you, so that you can manipulate and get what you want from that person. You know what I'm saying? Be truly honest about what it is, and then be present for their answer. Because you're strong enough to be able to receive it, right?
Right.
Right? You're worthy enough to be able to receive whatever their truth is.
Worthy, I like that.
Yeah, you're worthy to be able to receive whatever their truth is. So say you give in your heart and you say, I just love you, and I'm not afraid, or something, just whatever, however it comes out. And that person says, false. And then just that word right there, you might not have liked. It might crush your whole spirit. Just be present in that and deal with how that feels, and look at yourself first. Stop looking at somebody else, because he might have just needed to just sit with it for a moment, right? You might not have liked how the delivery was. That's not something that you need to worry about. You just need to know that you told your truth, sit with it for yourself. How does that feel? How does that go? And then and then you can come back to it. If that person's not able to communicate, well, then you know where you stand, you know how you need to rock, and go from there. But I feel that you should never be afraid to love. You should never be afraid, because that is like one of the greatest things. It's just, it stands the test of time. It helps you through whatever you need it. So if you feel like you can't do that, and that person's not able to do that, and that lets you know, hey, we're talking about red flags in mental health. This is not the one for you, right? And you need to then say, okay, well, why is it that I just feel like I got to be, and why is it that I feel like, and you need to we're talking about mental health again. Then what is it, the red flags in your own self? Why can't you sit with yourself for a moment in time? Because it's just like a wave of an ocean. What goes out is going to come back in. So if that person leaves, okay, it's all right, walk down the corner around, and guess what? You're going to meet somebody else. But being honest with yourself about what you really want, and don't close off. Don't say, I'm going to start seeing men, or I'm going to start seeing women. I just give up on the sexes and it's just a cop out. You're not being honest. You're hurt. Be honest about your hurt, but really be honest with yourself about what is it that you were not honest with yourself about, to where you felt like you were let down. Nobody can really let you down.
Yeah, I think that's what it really is. A lot of people are opposite of what you said. Instead of being brave, they're afraid. But afraid of what? They're afraid to sit with themselves. They don't know how. I'm not gonna say afraid. They don't know how to be honest with themselves. And since they're not taking the time to sit with themselves and question themselves and pull out honesty about themselves, they reflect their own self issues on other people, or they see in other people what they're doing, and they're attracted to that because that's what they're doing to themselves internally. Now, a case in point of reference, what I mean by that. So I was talking to a female friend of mine, and she was asking me she wasn't asking me a lot of questions, but she was asking me basically, why am I single? And most people that I talk to, especially my guy associates, my friends, they say, well, these females, it's always a blame game. So I said, I'm single because I haven't found a partner, and I finally come to realize I can only deal with a relationship that's in alignment. So if it's not in alignment, then I'm not going with the flow, because if anything that's in alignment gets knocked out of alignment, it's just like a car in your tires. You just take it back to the shop and get it right back in alignment. So basically, my friend was telling me that the men she's dealt with, and it hasn't been a lot, it's only been like 4 or 5, but she said the last 2, one of the case, she told the man, the type of man she looked for, and he molded himself to be that man. But in my perspective, ain't nothing wrong with that. That doesn't sound wrong. I get it to an extent, but I don't want to share my opinion. I want you to share yours. But now she's at a point she want to go with the flow and sit back and watch and wait and look instead of tell a man what type of man he looks for. So, what is your advice? Because, like I said, most people are not brave. They're hiding behind their hurt.
I can kind of see it both ways. I can see why, some people haven't had a standard, right? So sometimes a man hasn't even had to have the standard to come correct or come authentically. Let's just say that, come authentically. Some men haven't even been able, and women. Okay, don't get it twisted. Some men and some women have not come into a relationship to where there is a bar that's set. And so in that, they're like, you know what? Well, I kind of like that challenge. I've been trying to work on myself, but I haven't necessarily known how to do it. She's kind of given me an idea, or he's kind of given me an idea, verbalized what I haven't been able to express. I kind of like that. I want that. I want that for myself. That vision she has is really what I want for myself. I can see that point of view. Then I can also see the point of view to where she's like, I don't want to sit here and have to teach you. I don't want to sit here and have to do this. I don't want to sit here and do that. I want you to come correct. I want you to come already. But at the same time, if that's what you want and you're not able to make any compromises, then you might miss the opportunity of a man who's willing to grow or a woman that's willing to grow, right? They might not have been in just the right environment. Sometimes it just takes that right spark. At the same time, you have some people that we're talking about mental health, narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, and they'll do whatever it takes for them to feed off of you. So that means they've got to mold and do what it looks like to get what they want. Because at the end, it's about feeding what they want and what they need and messing you up in your mind. They like to play the game. That's what they love. Then I can understand you kind of guarding yourself to protect yourself, because that is toxic and that is going to cause trouble for you. So I think when it comes down to it, you got to really evaluate the situation. You got to really sit with it. And then you kind of just got to say, okay, men and women are very intuitive. Women are allowed to be more expressive and free with it, but men don't really miss the mark either. They see the signs. So when it comes down to it, it's kind of like, okay, how much am I willing to gain or how much am I willing to lose? Just be honest. We're talking about honesty again. It's really about that.
Okay. And I don't want you to go dive deep in this one, because we got this on my question list. When you just said having a standard, most people don't. But I feel like the standard that most people unconsciously have is a trauma standard, is what I call it. Trauma standard meaning a lot of people, instead of looking at their traumas as something that they experience, they live in their trauma. So I know on my list I have a question to ask you. How should we go about dealing with our traumas and relieving ourselves from our traumas? But that's down the list of my questions.
Okay.
My next topic, what I want you to dive deep in, is psilocybin high vibrations.
Okay.
Activating your superpowers when it comes to your relationship. Talk to me.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so we're talking about mental health, and we're talking about lower vibrational, and how a lot of lower vibrational relationships, it kind of looks like we're going with the flow. We don't really have the skills that we need. We're just kind of going, we're just kind of moving, we're kind of shaking it, and a lot of times the cost is high in the consequences, right?
The cost is high and the consequences.
Yeah, a lot of times the cost it's high in the consequences. So what I love about divine plant medicine, what I love about psilocybin is that it activates your superpower, right? Everything you need is within you, right? You are divinely created. You are divinely created. There's nothing missing. There's nothing broken. Everything you need is within you. So what I love about ancient divine plant medicine is that there are intelligences, and they're ancient. They've been here longer than necessarily humans have been, right? Just like crystals, things in the earth, they've scientifically been proven to come first, right? Okay. So in that, they have a wealth of knowledge that we can tap into. It's no different than you using science to prove a fact of about or a mathematical equation. There's no difference, right? There's going to be an outcome. There's proof, and it can't be refuted, and it is what it is. Okay, so we can use this medicine, right? We can use this medicine to go deeper within ourselves. Imagine yourself being like a vortex, right? It just goes deeper and opens up, but it goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So it's like there's so much to learn. There's so much that you can have access to. And I think about, just for an example, my father. Now, my father has been diagnosed with cancer. He's been living with cancer. He's had times of remission. He's come back. He's an alcoholic. I feel that I know that he's had a very traumatic childhood. In his traumatic childhood, he has used signs and used mechanisms to try to cope that has created trauma in my life, right? And in that, I've realized that, okay, I know that the plant iboga is able to help people that have addictions, that have heroin addictions, that have, addictions. Mm-hmm. It is able to go in it and just take it out of them, heal them, without really explanation of science. Man can't really verbalize it. Mm-hmm. But I also had to say that I had this knowing and I had this way of being able to have my father healed. But he doesn't want to do it. And I had to painfully accept the fact that he wants to live with the cancer, that he's going to continually be an alcoholic. And in that, his same abusive tendencies have not changed, and so there's no healing in that process. So I had to sit knowing that I know about some healing remedy, but he doesn't want to take it. So here it is, I had this master high vibrational energy answer from the divine. And he wants to stay in a lower unconscious field because I don't know why. I can't answer that for him. But for me, it feels as if it's too hard to do the work. And so in that, there are medicines that we have always had access to that we don't necessarily remember and that we have been stripped from, but they are here to heal us and activate the divine divinity that is within us. We don't have to suffer from addiction. We don't have to, suffer from traumas. There are things that can come and that can help us, with guidance, with music, with deep breathing, with intention. I love that word. With intention that we can utilize. That is a remedy. That is a spiritual tool. That is a divine answer. That is the truth. It is accessible to us. And we can heal our communities. We can heal mental illness in those ways. We can activate the superpowers within us. In doing those things, you've heard of, maybe you might not have, or you have heard of the word ayahuasca, magic mushrooms, psilocybin. All of these things are just so amazing. And they're here to bring healing. They're here to bring evolution. They're here to wake us up and have us forming a divine consciousness. So when I think about superpower in a relationship, you may not have the skills, right? You might not have been taught, how to just divinely say, I love you. Your I love you might be just, I'm paying the bills. Your I love you might just be a head rub. Your I love you might just be, I didn't cheat on you. But to that other person, it may not be their language, right? Mm-hmm. So when you take these divine plant medicines, they kind of strip you of ego, and they kind of also strip you of feeling like you are in here in this world by yourself and you only answer to yourself. You understand that there are divine dimensions. You understand that there are realms, that time doesn't necessarily exist the way you think that it exists, right? Mm-hmm. And in those things, you realize, you know what, that's kind of petty. You know how we use the word petty all the time? Yeah. When you have access to these plant medicines, you realize certain things are petty. You begin to have a way that you look up above. You can have a 360 and a high view compared to just being in a low vibration where all you can see is just what's before you and slightly what's in your peripheral vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think of that as being an answer for our community. A lot of times we don't have access or we don't feel comfortable in certain, ceremonies, because a lot of times they come with ceremonies. They come with a group of people and there's somebody that is a shaman or somebody that is a leader that has been taught in this ancient technology, because it is a spiritual technology, no different than the internet, no different than, your phone, your iPhone. These are technologies that we can use. But if we don't have that verbiage, if we don't understand that we have access to it, if we don't understand that it's ours from the get-go,
Mm-hmm.
right?
From the
get-go, that it's ours from the get-go, then we don't necessarily know. We keep thinking that we can only read books, or we believe that we can only just keep going to the altar and getting delivered, or we can just think that we can just fast and pray. Those things are great tools.
Mm-hmm.
But you can totally have evolution when you incorporate ancient technologies such as divine medicine. That is the answer for our community. That's one of the answers, just one of the answers. But it's a potent, powerful, revolutionary answer.
Definitely. Now, have you always been aware of the power of the foods, or you came into that at a certain?
So I've always been. I have had a grandmother, very much so. I've had a well balanced life. So I've been through a lot of trauma, right? So I had that, and I look at that as an experience that I can relate to others and help others. I have also had an experience of a mother who is highly educated, has had a private practice for mental health, who thinks very logically, right? Very logically, understands spirit. But I think for me, if she happens to watch this video, I feel like for me, she leans a lot more on logic. Okay? And that's powerful, and you need it in this realm, right? You need this in this physical 3D form. But at the same time, when you have access to my grandmother, her mother, and my grandmother's mother were medicine women and knew about all ancient technology when it came to plant medicine, had farms, agriculturalists, had many children, but were able to heal off the land, right? Knew how to use a herb for this, for that, and even know how to use a herb for poison for self-defense when they weren't allowed to carry a gun, right? Because that could be something that could cause them to be in jail and all types of issues. So but bringing it back, when you think about just the power of plants, the power of the greenery, the power of the life that's around us, of nature, of being present, those things are healing modalities. They're healing modalities, and they are to be recognized and honored, respected, and not forgotten and utilized. It's more than just grabbing some eucalyptus for a cold. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, we can really use some herbs, these ancient plant technologies, to heal, to receive downloads within our spirit, within our channel of ways to handle relationships that we did not come into this physical form being able to do. Right? So there's a way in which you're able to say, okay, you're able to go into trance, or you're able to just go to sleep and have a dream. It's just as easy as that. You don't even have to get high. Just being able to go to sleep and have a dream and be able to have the answer, being able to see the situation in a whole different way, to where you wake up and you're like, you know what, it's okay. And it just drops off you. I mean, to just imagine, to just not even have to hold certain weights. Just because you have a higher vibration of thinking, you've been able to hold a thought a different way. Mm-hmm. And that's what plant medicine can do.
Powerful. So what would be some ways you would advise the viewers to work their way into that?
One thing I do when I have clients, and immediately we'll have a conversation. I want you to tell me what's going on. I want you to sit with what's most uncomfortable for you. But mirror work is important. Mirror work is important because if you can sit in front of a mirror And I don't care if you can't sit in front of a mirror for 2 seconds. Promise yourself you'll come back to it, right? Do the work. But sit down in front of a mirror and state the best way that you can, if you do not know how to, affirmative words. I am beautiful. And even if you don't believe it, speak what you want somebody to tell you, how you want to feel. Be that for yourself. Start there. And if you're not able to sit in front of a mirror, then just be present. Write yourself a letter. Write yourself a letter as if you want somebody to write to you the best love song that will speak to your heart, right? So the best love song that will speak to your heart, you write that. And then you sit with that. You read over it. You read over it. You read over it. You read over it. And if it still hurts you or you feel like you don't believe it, then you need to ask yourself, why don't I believe this? Like, go deeper. Just ask yourself questions. Don't wait for somebody else to ask you. Don't wait for some other situation or somebody else to validate you. Kind of just begin to do some of that beginning work. All of that is called doing the work. Take some baby steps. Breathe. Be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle with yourself. And I don't care if you just got to sometimes rub on your shoulder and just say, nothing. Just rub. Enjoy what that feels like. And if you don't know how to touch yourself, then why? You know what I'm saying? Figure that out. When it comes down to it, we need to be the most present, the most conscious with ourselves. Because if we can't do that, we cannot expect anybody else to be that for us.
That part. I love it. Well said. All right, so that brings me into the next part. I said trauma, but not just trauma as a whole. I want to talk to you about dealing with money and trauma. So to line this question up, they say, and I believe it too, they say most relationships fail because the lack of finances, no, not lack of finances, because of finances, the lack of communication, kids, and the bedroom sex, which will lead to another topic after this.
Okay.
So when it comes to dealing with money and trauma, in these relationships, I know a lot of people, especially in today's economy with the prices raising up and the value of the dollar going down, there's a dictation. If you don't make more money than me, I can't be with you. If I make X amount of dollars, it ain't gonna work out. And that causes a conflict. So I don't want to necessarily say trauma, but I know for me, for example, growing up, not having much money, money's important, but I would never dictate me being with somebody over money. But that's what I see going on. So talk to me about the importance of bad behavior with money and how that can destroy a relationship.
Okay, bad behavior with money that can destroy a relationship. I was in a marriage. I'll talk about myself first. I was in a marriage, and during the divorce, $30,000 debt. And I had all the money conversations that I thought were important. I looked at all the papers that I thought were important as far as what's in your bank account, who do you owe, this, that, and lined up myself with your credit score, how do you feel about money, But what I did not realize, and I look at it now, and I was like, trauma can create a negative impact on your finances.
Unpack that for me.
Okay, so I believe on living. This is me. I believe on living on one income. Whoever makes the most pays all the bills. The other income saves. We save so we can take trips. We save so we can make investments. We save so that we can buy a new car, fix the car, help out our family, emergencies, whatever. We live on one income. And if one income can't pay for everything that we agreed upon and say this is how we want to live right now, then I don't really believe in roommates. And I think that right now there are a lot of people who don't necessarily want roommates. They know they're broken. They know they're messed up. But they want some help with some bills.
Right.
They want to have access to a warm body in the bed. You know what I'm saying? They want to keep practicing, their best moves, right? Let's just say it like that.
Okay.
but they're not necessarily honest to the other person. So the other person's thinking it's a relationship. We're not just talking about a man. We're not just talking about a woman. Either one of them cannot be honest and say, I just want somebody to pay my bills, right? So I have a client, and she came to me heartbroken. And she was like, I just was so into this guy, so into this man, and he has children, but my children are in college. And, he was telling me, we were vibing, we were doing all this, we were doing all the right things. I felt like I'm getting ready to get married to him. He told me how much he loves me, how much he sees the future with me. And he basically just told me, look, you're so far away. I miss you. I want you to come back, just come closer. Why don't you just come live with me? He has a big house. He has the nicest cars. He's, to her, she's like, of course I'll come. And not only do I love you, but you can create comfort for me also. Okay, I'm coming. I'm running, matter of fact. So she gets there, and here she is. Her kids are in college now, but now she's taking care of his daughters. He has 3 daughters, taking them to school, taking them there. She's playing all the roles of a mother, right? Because the mother's not in the picture. She's playing all the roles of a mother. And she's just basically contributing groceries, because when she met him, he had the cars, he had the house, he was doing all right. He already had custody of his daughters. She's not thinking anything but that he wants me. He sees the value in me and wants for me to be part of his world. Well, he told her, basically, I don't feel like you're doing enough. And she asked him, she said, what do you mean? I'm taking your, what do you mean? She really was flabbergasted. She said, I'm bringing food into the home. I'm taking care of your children, and my children are in college. I haven't had babies in a long time. I'm going to parent-teacher conferences. I'm doing the role. I'm ironing clothes. I'm doing all this stuff. But he was talking about, he really wanted her to help pay the bills. He really was struggling. He had all this great facade, but he wasn't honest. He really wanted her there because, yes, he does care about her. Yes, she is a warm body that he enjoys. But he also, and yes, he does need help with the girls, and cooking the food and all that type of stuff. He wanted those wife privileges, but he also wanted her to pay. He wanted her to contribute to the cars and to the rent, because he was really struggling. Being in a closet, he was really struggling. And so, again, we're not being honest. If you had been honest with her, she could have made her own decision about it. Is this something I want to do, or is something I'm not going to do? But he didn't give her that choice. In my situation, I found out during the divorce that during trauma and stress, how some people binge eat, or some people, he binge spend. And he also wanted to become an entrepreneur, and I supported him in that entrepreneurship, but I didn't know he was hemorrhaging so much. Why? Because I was making more at the time. And so therefore, I took care of the bills. That's what I agreed upon. He agreed upon. That was our dynamic. Okay? And come to find out, when it comes down to the situation, we didn't have the money. The money is gone. Right? He spent the money that was supposed to be saved. He was doing this. He was doing that. Did I see red flags? I sure did. But I overlooked them. And looking back now, that was a money trauma, I guess, for me, of feeling like I needed to be independent, or I felt guilty about making more money, and therefore wanted him to feel comfortable. So I overlooked some things because I really did see them, right? So lesson learned. But bottom line is that I had to dig myself out of $30,000 debt after divorce. I dug myself out of $30,000 debt, but I had to make some decisions that were not comfortable. Stay with family. And I didn't tell my family that I was $30,000 debt. I just said, I need some help. Can we stay? Can I stay? Can I, go through this? Can I do this? And then I would, at the time I was doing some home care work, I ended up just staying at my people's houses and living there, and, just getting myself out of debt. If I could do things differently, I knew that I had a trauma as far as feeling guilty about, not knowing how to make him feel like a man according to his standards, while I can continue to be my authentic self in a way.
I like that. Beautiful answer. I'm glad you was able to use your story as the example instead of just saying what you believe. Appreciate it. And congratulations. Congratulations. So next topic, sexual scripting and tantra. When we was off stage, you mentioned to me that it's this thing that you call sexual scripting. I'm familiar with tantra. Tantra is new to me, but that's definitely a practice that I can't wait to find a partner to dive deep into.
It's amazing.
I bet I can just imagine it's hard and strong. I can feel it more than anything.
Yes.
So talk to me about that. Give me a little bit of education on what do you mean by sexual scripting and how or is it different from tantra?
So it's something that Spirit gave to me in the midst of a crisis that I had with a client.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this gentleman who was really trying his best to just express to his woman. This man is, just wants to love. He has money. He has all of the great things to catch a woman. But he had this woman that he attracted and decided to keep in his life that was very hurt from past relationships. He would speak his heart, or he would say, I just need to communicate to you about this issue right here. And speaking very directly, I have a concern about this issue. I had this, that nigga, thing, he would just blow her off, or she would handle it dysfunctionally, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of coming, maybe sitting silent, maybe dealing with the issue, she handled it very dysfunctionally. And so he was, not willing to leave her. He wanted to know what he could do to help the situation. And so from that came to me the download of sexual scripting. And so what that is that he literally, based on the argument he just had, he would take this time, kind of, take a drive, whatever he needed to do, and he would assess what happened. He would sit in that feeling, and then he would write it down. And what he would do is not only write down the feeling that he had, he would write down what he wanted to say as if she wouldn't judge him. What he would speak from his heart, what he wanted to say to her, knowing that she would not judge him and she would fully listen, right? And that she would fully receive it. That's the key. Not only would she listen, she would fully receive it, right? So then he felt that he could then be more of his authentic self. So in that, he's writing it everything out. And this time he's taking it into the bedroom, right? And during that time where, her breathing is different, she's coming into, a trance-like state during the sexual activity. Her breathing is different. She's more receptive. She's looking him deep into his eyes. She's in a receptive, receiving mode. He would then speak to her what he wanted to say. Mm-hmm. So he would say, baby, I've got your back, and that's with every thrust, with every rhythmic thing that he's doing. He's saying to her, I got your back. He's saying her heart, and she's able to receive it. And in that, the behavioral changes because he's bypassed all the walls, right? So it's a sacred place where he's bypassed all the walls and he's able to get into the very nature or the very heart of the matter without having to deal with all of that repercussion or that, anxiety or that just shut down that was happening before. So it worked, and it's been a beautiful experience, and I've heard nothing but great things, and it just keeps growing, and people just use it. No, it's just like you use scripting for manifestation. Mm-hmm. I see myself, or I walk down the street, I picked up $20. It's the same thing. You speak it over yourself, you just bring it into that. And so that's just a form, one tool that I use in Tantra.
Gotcha. I like that. That's powerful. Man, sexual scripting. I don't know about the now. So where were you at back in the past? But that's a great technique. Okay. So the wrapping up, in today's society, I have a belief on what our people can utilize as to prevent broken homes. But instead of me saying my belief, I want you to educate me just so I can filter my understanding of this. When you hear the topic polygamous relationships, most people that I see online, and mostly women, it's kind of like pimping. Well, if you can have multiple wives, can we have multiple men? Now, in America, polygamous relationships is illegal. But I want to hear your feedback. What is polygamy? Well, I heard you got polygyny, polygamy, polygamy. It's many different ones. But if you can sum up, what is a polygamous relationship? What is it for? And do you feel it should be legalized?
Well, you said that it's illegal. It's illegal, but if you have a sovereign land, you've been given land, then you are able to live that type of lifestyle. If you're also in certain religious backgrounds, you're able to live that lifestyle. So I wouldn't say it's illegal, but I would say that it's frowned upon, right?
Okay.
I would say it's a frowned upon because everybody hasn't handled that energy wisely. Okay, so yes, you have certain communities, especially in Asian communities, where um, in in other lands, not here in America, where women are the head and sovereign, and they are allowed to have multiple men. So it's very thriving. It's very much alive. The same thing you have with men, that they're allowed to have multiple wives, and it's very much celebrated and even widely pushed. That agenda is pushed. I would say, for me, I don't have a problem with it. I think it is a very mature decision to do, and it takes maturity on all levels. I think it takes wholeness of each person to be whole in order for it to thrive. But I think that it is a way of society. It's ancient and it's always been, and I think that it definitely has a lot of pros to it more than cons. If you are able to be mature and you're coming from a dynamic to where that is the norm. Now, if you're coming from a mentality where you just want to be a player or you just want to be a pimp and you don't see the value in a woman and she's nothing but a number and she's just nothing but a hot seat or whatever, then I think it's very toxic in that way. If you are mad at men and you don't care about her and you like, I don't just want to run, all they can do is pay my bills, and you just want this, and all they can just do this, and I just want to have a baby by this particular one because he's got beautiful eyes and good hair, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Then that's toxic as well. But I do believe that it is a very real community, and I think that it can thrive. I think it has a lot of pros. But I think that it needs to have a community that supports it and that does not demonize it, and that is a way of life for them, and then you can thrive. Now, if you're coming into it and you're not broken, I mean, you're broken and you're trying to feel something, it's going to take a whole different form, and it's going to be very dysfunctional and what do they call handicapped? You're going to be deformed in the way that it looks. But I mean, it's another way of just raising community. We say it takes a village to raise a child. A lot of times, it can very much be that. It can be very much that. And a very polygamous relationship could be just this. It could be just a man and a woman, and they're swingers, right? And they decide to have a baby, but maybe they've invited somebody else, and the partner becomes. That's just a very petty example, but I'm just saying it's one that a lot of people can relate to. Then you also have those examples of where you have two men that have decided to take a woman so they can have a baby, procreate, and now they are having to be co-parents. But at the same time, it kind of is a polygamous relationship because that man has decided to kind of be with that woman, and she's agreed, even though she knows he's with another man. Right. Now, there's all types of dynamics. It doesn't come just in one form. But bottom line is, do you have the community to support it? Are you whole in it? And are you willing to deal with building a nation from it?
That part, building a nation. Do you think that's important for our people over in America to start focus on nation building more than just monogamous one-on-one flow dating?
I believe that right now we need to heal from what's going on. The trauma that we have, the way that we interact with one another, the way that we see a system. I feel that if we're not able to really sovereignly handle our own, as far as economics, as far as being able to even just to build a home, sustainability, as far as being able to grow our own food agricultural wise. If we're not able to do those things, it's really honestly, it's hard to build a nation. Because if not, you're going to be reliant upon that which you're getting everything from. So are you truly nation building, or are you just populate? Just having population, development, and that is a difference. I would want nothing more for us to nation build, but it really takes wholeness. It takes us to be healed. It takes us to have an understanding that we are not one another's enemy, It takes us having understanding that we need to be fully balanced in our feminine and male energy. It takes that we need to be multilingual. It takes that we need to be able to grow our own food, that we need to be able to do our own surgeries, have our own housing, have our own way of being able to heal one another. And, you know, it really is not a joke out here. And so as great as it says, yeah, let's build a nation, and it even comes to language, being able to have our own language. And if we're not really truly able to do that, we need to be honest about it. And I think that we just need to say we're not at that point yet. We need to be honest about it, and then we need to go ahead and figure out how to get there, because we can definitely get there. You know, we need to take back our ancient medicines. We need to take back knowing that we're not one another's enemy. We need to take back the fact that we need to really realize that English is a very limited language, and that is not highly vibrational. We need to take back that we need to know how to touch one another. We need to know how to manifest. We need to know how to create, as far as through our minds, not just through our physical bodies. We need to understand our bodies. It's just we need to get it together in the most beautiful, loving way. We really do. Or we'll just have a lot of ourselves looking like one another, still walking around in circles.
Powerful, powerful. I like that. Appreciate it. So, with that being said, I love to wrap this podcast up with, and we gotta definitely do a part 2. But I definitely like to wrap this up. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your wisdom, your gems. I learned a lot. I will be playing this back on replay, not only for editing purposes, but for note-taking purposes.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
So I hope you all took a lot of notes, and I would not be doing my viewers fair justice if I did not allow you to let these individuals know how they can do business with you, how can they reach out and ask you some more questions, let alone how can they stay in tune and follow you.
Well, right now, the best way to just be the most open is just, you are always free to email me. It's Emunah, EMUNAH, tax, TAX, 2, @gmail.com. And if you just want to send a love offering, if you just want to say, hey, sister, I see you, you can always just cash at me, $ Levya, LEVYAHNOW, Levya now, a Cash App. So I thank you. It's been fun. It's been fun. Thank you, King.
And I will have all these information that she just said, these as in my information as well as hers in the description. So make sure you all click the like on the button, subscribe, and stay tuned for more Move Different Gems with King Enlighten. And I always wrap it up. Peace, love, prosperity, family. Sharpen awareness, Katie Intelligence.
Peace.
Thank
you.
Like a Zam, I ain't acting, I'm just speaking what I see behind the lens. Even though I'm speaking roles, the creator I am.
Manifest, elevate, you won't be okay. I'ma focus on myself in the way. Give you love, give you eyes, show you the way. I plant the seeds and watch them blossom. Our soul is power, solar power. We don't fold, we don't know no cowards. We expose those who hide our power. Self-conquer, watch the rest devour.